Remember photographers used to love to put our faces together? They'd be like, can you put the tips of your noses together? And like Sara was the one that finally like started to set boundaries.
This is a fun interview. I feel like
it's like trauma dumping.
Like,
we're like, and then Sara said, would you ask Radiohead to do this? Hi, I'm Tegan.
I'm Sara.
And today we are taking a look back at some moments that shaped our career and our identity.
This is Becoming Tegan and Sara.
So this is in our senior year of high school. What I sort of know would happen shortly after this clip is that we would really like launch our music career where people wanted to already begin shaping us. We were not out in the clip. We both had started to explore our identity and we both sort of understood that we were probably gay. We would have said gay back then, not queer, but it was going to still be probably almost another year before we would actually before I would actually come out to people. Journalists would be like, so are you writing about your boyfriends? What do your boyfriends think? And it just made me feel nuts to...
Super weird.
Even though we were teenagers, we were 18 years old. I don't even know very many 18-year-olds that want to talk about their sex lives or their romantic lives with 45-year-old men, especially as I got into my senior year of high school when I started to secretly date my best friend who was a girl. You can feel the songs really changing. Like leading up to that point, I'm not sure. Like we had like songs like Geraghty, which was like about a boy who freezes to death, which is definitely about acid. About
Basically,
love.
we went through like a psychedelic stage.
Yeah.
We're sort of like the Grateful Dead. And then we just went through our gay stage.
10th grade is like psychedelics. 11th grade is like the struggle to like get off psychedelics, and then 12th grade is like gay love. If It Was You was an album, I think that kind of actually launched the Tegan and Sara sound. Mm-hmm. Before that, we had sort of been struggling to figure out exactly who we were, what we wanted to sound like. And to me, it was sort of like a return to kind of our roots. You know, we'd grown up listening to a lot of rock music and punk music. And If It Was You just had like a snotty, punky style. Just it corresponds in my mind with the time where we really became ourselves.
Hi, I'm my hair. Hi, I'm Sara, and I'm from Tegan and Sara, and this is our European trip.
What this video is that Sara and I filmed everything. This is like, remember, it's 2002. It's like pre-YouTube, pre-influencers, pre-social media. We got signed when we were 19, and all our friends went off to college, and like we wouldn't see people. We couldn't talk to anyone, and we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the ability to stay in touch, and so we filmed everything. And then I would come home, and I would edit together these videos. We would put it up on our website. And I can remember our managers
people would find.
Yeah, but I can remember our managers being like, you're paying so much money for hosting all of this data. It's sweet. I mean, we're on tour in Europe and then into the States, and you can just see us deteriorate over this clip, and we just get more and more exhausted looking. It's the receipts that we've really like paid our dues. Like we did it. Like now artists are like, oh my God, touring is so exhausting. Like our bus broke down, and I'm like, a bus? You just put out your first album. It took us 8 years to get to a bus. We put out our album So Jealous in 2004. That was our fourth record. It was the record where we both sort of felt like we were legitimately being accepted as a band. All of a sudden, you know, places like Rolling Stone and Spin were having us into their offices to meet with journalists. You know, Rolling Stone ended up saying So Jealous was one of the top 50 records of that year. It just felt like legitimate.
It was a big year. We both got bangs.
We both got like baby bangs, actually.
Yeah.
Spin had written this terrible review and called us Wiccan folk nightmares. It was actually being accepted by straight men that made the media stop ignoring us because they had to listen to the men that they deemed important, right?
Yeah.
So like Jack White from the White Stripes covered Walking with a Ghost from So Jealous, and it was like White Stripes were worshipped by these magazines. Out of context, it feels really sad when you like really dissect it and magnify it. But in context of in that moment, it was overnight.
Yeah, people
like
started.
It was just like we were
about us.
legitimate. We were just like, oh, we're in a band. It felt like we were maybe having to convince people less, like that we were real. You know, we were still shrugging off that early age affiliation with teen singers. This idea that we had been put together by a record company. Like it took years to convince people, which is exhausting. But I think this was the record where people were like, okay, I know what this is. Speaking of trauma dumping, I believe this was from the 3rd season of The L Word. It shot up in Vancouver. We had been hearing rumors that there was a show about lesbians. I didn't have cable. I was living in Montreal. I knew one couple who seemed very rich to me at the time. I remember they had cable, but they would record each episode weekly, and then they would give the VHS tapes to me and my girlfriend at the time. And then I remember we brought it on tour, and Tegan had not seen it. So we were like, we have something to show you. And we would all crowd onto our tour bus and we would watch these bootleg versions of the L Word.
It was a joy.
Yeah,
it was a total
it was
joy.
super cool. When we read the script and what the portrayal of them on drugs, I remember thinking none of these people have ever done drugs before. And that's clear from rewatching the clip.
Do you know who's a lesbian? Dana Fairbanks.
To this day, gay people will come up to me and be like, Dana Fairbanks is gay. Like still people say that to me all the time. And I think it's like, I'm so proud to be a part of that moment. The music video for The Con, which was from the album The Con, came out in 2007. We actually shot this video. It was the day before our 27th birthday. And I know this because I was so profoundly depressed. My girlfriend had broken up with me and I had cried the whole night before shooting the video. The hair and makeup and wardrobe team felt so sorry for me that they gave me a pair of Paul Smith sneakers for my birthday. And our mullets are on point. Our mullets are so sleek. Like we look like seals. Like it's like, there's almost like a sheen.
They're beautiful.
Like I want to pet us.
Yeah.
Very on point. And actually I really, really loved my t-shirt in this video. And it's just a good reminder to myself that I just should stop
giving away your
Why
clothes.
do I always give away my clothes? Because I would love to have that t-shirt still. The record was about anxiety. I talked to the video director, Susie, and was just like, it just told her like how anxious I was about absolutely everything. And I just loved her treatment. You know, it just, especially the end where I'm like drowning in the bathtub. It was also very stressful to pretend to drown. But it's pretty awesome to watch. For us, even though we were indie rock, there was so much emo in us. And the emo world was much more, they embraced us so much more than the indie rock world did. It's a record that so many people refer to as like a beloved Tegan and Sara record, but it was actually kind of a slow burn. The first 6 months of that record cycle, we used to play the record start to finish and then we would play it backwards. So we play it from song 1 to 14 and then we play 14 to 1 for the same audience. We were like, you're gonna love the record. Trust me, you just need to listen to it twice. While we are being so blatantly candid and open with our audience, it's a double-edged sword because you cannot all of a sudden be like, well, I don't want to talk about my sexuality. We got more formal about our activism in 2007, 2008. I remember probably it coinciding with Obama, Prop 8. Instead of it being a question of so you guys are gay, do you write your songs about girls? Tell me more. It was like, so you guys are gay, what do you think about what's happening politically in the United States or around the world when it comes to LGBTQ rights? It sort of required us to adopt more language and more of a position, I guess you could say, which felt really natural. We thought of ourselves and our concerts as safe spaces. We weren't using that phrase, but we could, we'd go through Tulsa or we'd go through Columbus or Kansas City, and we knew that we were a gay happening. Yeah, that was an exciting time. I felt like that was actually the start for me of kind of empowering ourselves as not just gay musicians, but we became, I think, important leaders in the queer movement within the music industry.
All I wanna get is a little bit closer.
Oh my God, we're skipping Sainthood. Can I just publicly say we are skipping Sainthood, which is my favorite Tegan and Sara album, which is probably saying a lot. I've always been known in the industry as Deep Cut Sara. I think the evolution from The Con into Sainthood into Heartthrob felt like we could distinguish ourselves from what people thought we were still. Women especially, we just get boxed in. And Sara and I felt very much like we didn't want to be told what to do. And we were on a major label and they were basically like, you have your lane. We were like, well, we want to work with the biggest pop producer in the world and we want to make a huge record. It was a concerted effort that we made to go in a different direction. But to be perfectly honest, it was just, I wrote closer. And when you write something that is undeniably pop, it's 4 on the floor, the hook is right off the top. When I sent it to Sara, she wrote me back 10 minutes later and said, this is a hit.
Here comes the breath before we get a little bit closer.
The video felt like it was one of the first times I remember feeling like the record label was meddling. I remember having a lot of fights with the label and with our managers at the time. It was just this emphasis on, well, you're so feminine and you're so pretty and you're so different than what people think queer is. And it was just, we knew what that language meant. The original stylist who had been booked showed up and there were tank tops and things like that. And my girlfriend at the time called a friend of hers who was dressing Haley from Paramore at the time. And she came in last minute, opened up our suitcases and brought a few items of her own and dressed us because we were like, my God, we're not gonna wear tank tops in the videos. I think we were one of the first bands that also was tapping into something that maybe didn't actually look like our lives. These were sort of coded ways of saying like, we're queering something we've all seen before, like the sort of high school movie vibe at a party, but we're gonna make it gay.
I think it's better having it be our secret. Totally.
We wanted to write a book about the late 90s when we were 15, 16, and 17. We pitched it, we wrote a proposal, and then all of a sudden we had a book that we needed to write. Almost immediately when we started writing the book, we were like, this would make like a totally cool TV show. It was a really amazing journey. We shot the show this last spring in Calgary, where we grew up. We actually shot in our high school, where we went to high school. I don't know if I think of it as being highly fictionalized. I think it's the Tegan and Sara story. Like I never got to see teenagers play guitar or learn how to play guitar like girls. These formative moments of struggling with my identity, but also falling in love and having a sexual relationship with my best friend that I had to keep under wraps, you know, to see that come alive on screen was just so moving to me. And I think the show captures that sort of feeling of like when you first realize that you're gay, and like it's not just like falling in love with one person, it's like the possibility of love is everywhere. But often with gay stories, we only get to see like Bill realizes that he loves Ted, and then like the story, you know, it's like one-to-one or something. I don't know, just throwing out like some like big, you know, names, whatever. But you know, when I was gay and a teenager, I kind of felt like I was falling in love with every girl that I saw and every girl I was friends with. I think it also captures the drug experience better than the other show we were talking about. Crybaby's a lot like Sainthood, actually. Just kidding. It feels like a bit of an experimental record for us. It's our 10th album, and I sort of have this nervousness or this insecurity. How many more albums can a band make after they've made 10? Like, you know, thinking about how you're going to keep people excited and invested, even though there's like albums that they already really, really love and songs that they return to. How do you compete with that? So, you know, I feel like we gave it our best shot. I think it's a really strong album, start to finish. When we were coming up with an idea for the Yellow music video, I was pitching all these extremely complicated, extremely expensive ideas, and Sara wrote back and said, might be too on the nose, but should we just remake Coldplay's Yellow video like in our own way? Like it could be kind of cool because there was one of him, but there's two of us. And anyway, it ended up working out perfectly because in his video, Chris Martin's walking up the beach and it's raining. It had been blazing hot in Vancouver all week. And then the day that we shot this at like 4:30 in the morning, it started to rain. So we're like soaking wet on the beach. It was as if the heavens above opened up and we're like, yes, two bands can have a song called Yellow. Different songs, but have the same video. I dare to say, like, I see a legacy because of what we did and the road we walked. I see bands now coming out or artists coming out that may not even have ever heard of Tegan and Sara. But I know that our legacy is that those bands get exposure in ways that they wouldn't have 20 years ago. That people's minds were changed in important ways to make space for those kinds of artists and those kinds of bands. I don't think ever about myself as an iconic lesbian artist. Like that, those words definitely don't. Like, I think it's probably best, even if people think you're an icon, to never think of yourself as one.
Like when your wife is mad at you, you're like, I'm an icon. Do you know who you're talking to?
I don't, because I still feel like that Tegan in 1998 outside of her high school with the middle part and the K-Way jacket. I just feel, you know, like I'm 18. Thank you so much to everyone who watched. Thanks for having us.
Yes, this was Becoming with Tegan and Sara.
Or Becoming Tegan and Sara. Is it Becoming Tegan and Sara? Do we dress people now and get them into outfits to look at us? Becoming Tegan and Sara.
Becoming
a new show on HGTV.
Tegan and Sara.
Yeah. Become Tegan and Sara because they're too old to do this now and they would like younger people to do it.